Deliverable 1 Software Design Plan by Caleb Finns, Jamesia Moore, and Nicholas Hazelden. Today's medical industry is undersaturated with EMRs. The fact that DocChart exists will help providers have access to more options when selecting their EMR software. DocChart will be cheaper than the competitors' options. This is because we are trying to provide small providers with an economical solution. This price reduction on the providers end will trickle down into savings for the patients as well. Most EMRs are fancy applications with tons of functionality that is hard to use for older medical staff. DocChart will not be. DocChart will be bare bones and user-friendly. There will be no added functionality that the user will never use. DocChart will give the clients all the basics and not confuse them. This added simplicity will mean less time trying to figure out the application and more time assisting patients. DocChart will face some initial project constraints. First, DocChart will need to secure funding from outside investors. This can be anything from a donation from grandma or a company buying a stake in our business. All companies need capital to continue development of their products, and DocChart is no different. Secondly, DocChart will need to break into a niche market. As we all know, medical providers are well educated and can be picky. Selling them our application will be no easy task. Finally, when DocChart becomes successful and starts to grow, the infrastructure needed to maintain it must also grow with it. That means hiring more developers and acquiring more server space. This expansion must be methodical and scalable so that DocChart can thrive. DocChart will impact many communities and provide new value into an undersaturated market. It will impact providers by being easier and cheaper for small practices. Patients will be given a higher level of care, therefore increasing the value of the program from the provider's perspective. And when DocChart becomes successful, investors will be impacted because they will see a high return on their investment.
Hello, my name is Nick Hazelden, and today I will be discussing the software development lifecycle. True to its name, it breaks down the lifespan of a software, all the way from its initial inception through all the programming and even after the user already owns the finished product. While that sounds like a lot, it's really not. The lifecycle for a given software development team can be broken down into 5 distinct phases. Phase 1 is requirement analysis. Also known as the planning phase, this stage of software development is considered the most important and fundamental of all because this is where it gets determined what the software is going to actually be. What purpose will it serve? Should it be implemented as an application or would it be best suited as a web service? And most importantly, is our current plan even technologically feasible? In a nutshell, I'd say the requirement analysis phase can be best summed up as figuring out what we're doing. Phase 3 is the implementation phase. All programming is done in the implementation phase. This is where all the planning from the previous phases gets finally put to use, and we actually see this idea we've been talking about start to become a reality. Implementation is typically the longest phase in the software development lifecycle, and that's probably a good thing because the more time you spend in this phase, that usually means the less time you're going to spend in the next phase. Testing is the final stage before the software is released to the public. This phase is used to make sure that the software is functional under different levels of stress and to find and patch any bugs, abnormalities, or glitches found during these tests. Once tests have concluded that the software is suitable for use by the public, the software is then ready for the next phase, which is deployment and maintenance. The final phase is essentially an extended testing phase, except it's without the controlled environment and tests that the testing phase had. Now, in this phase, the users are considered the testers, and they may find defects, glitches, or bugs that either weren't found in the testing phase or were allowed through the testing phase because they were minor and they didn't break the software. And having to fix all of them would have pushed back the deadline. But once these bugs are found and they're reported by the users, the development team can then get to work on a patch that fixes them and then send it out, and it can be downloaded by the users and those glitches will be gone.
Doctor changes the way a patient connects with their healthcare providers. It creates a sense of security and the ability to access your own personal records. It's environment friendly and it creates a better eco-friendly footprint. It creates a secure way healthcare providers, medical institutions, pharmaceutical companies, medical networks work together to provide the best support and experience for patients. It focuses on usability, easy to access, is reliant, and improves overall practice efficiency. As a front desk assistant, I want to be able to check and see if the patients have filled out all required work so they'll be able to move forward with a doctor's visit. Acceptance criteria, a feature that emails the patients with missing information, which documents they're missing. A feature that informs that all the patient's information is complete. A badge should be shown on their profile. As a pharmacist technician, I want to be able to sort through all the medication that comes in and out of my store in order to help with creating logs to keep track of inventory. Acceptance criteria. Medication should have a DIN number, a drug identification number. Medication should be sorted by generic and non-generic. A system where it keeps track of how many times a medication was bought and how many are left in stock. A feature where you can enter the date the medication was delivered. As a store manager, I want to be able to inform customers prior to the pickup date, the current state, or the wait time for their medication, so that they'll be able to decide what would be the perfect time of arrival. Acceptance criteria. A feature where every time a customer checks out, within an hour, it is added into a queue, and it shows how busy it is around a certain time. I want this to be shown in a bar chart. And a feature that sends a notification to the customers that their medication has arrived and what time,